Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Patterson Podcast. Today's episode is with Kyle Matthews. Kyle is on a crazy mission. He is running the whole perimeter of the UK. He came up on my Instagram just because he's posting every day as like a suggested reel. And I noticed that he was just north of Edinburgh kind of thing, and he would be in Edinburgh in the next week or so. And so I reached out to him and he was like, oh yeah, I'd love to come and speak to you. So he very kindly sat down with me for an hour and a half to talk through why he's doing this, what some of the challenges have been, where he's been so far. And his stories are absolutely wild. I think he said about 3,000 kilometers in at the moment, or maybe 2,500. He's running a marathon a day, essentially. So he runs about 40 kilometers, maybe sometimes 30. But when he was up in the north of Scotland, it was like 50 or 60k a day he was running, which for anyone who's tried to run or does run, they'll recognize how impressive that is. I mean, those kind of distances on their own are unbelievably hard. To be doing them in consecutive days is it's remarkable. It's incredibly impressive. And that was cool. I really enjoyed speaking to Kyle. You can find him as the Milky Runner on Instagram, and he's raising money for a charity as well. Family First, I believe. Check the name of that charity, please. But it's in the link in his bio. So, yeah, fantastic conversation. Such an impressive young guy. He's only 19 as well. So without further ado, here is Kyle Matthews. Enjoy. So, Kyle.
Hello.
Mate, thank you very much for sitting down with me today.
Of course.
Can you just tell people what you're up to and how you come to be in Edinburgh?
Yeah, so I'm Kyle Matthews, also known as the Milky Runner. That's my stage name, as they call it. And yeah, I'm running the perimeter of Britain, actually. And starting off in Brighton, I've been running for now 92 days. I'm currently on the mission. And yeah, today I've just hit about 3,150 kilometers, and I've just hit Edinburgh. I've been through following the West Coast, and now on my way back down from John O'Groats, on my way back down to Brighton, day 92, and I expect it to take maybe 120 days all in.
Okay, so 120 days, so about a 4-month mission.
Correct, yeah.
You're 90 days in.
90 days in, yeah. I expected it to take 6 months. But it turns out that I've just kind of smashed through it a bit quicker than I thought. The goal was to do a marathon a day, but I kind of thought I'd have a lot more rest days. The goal was never to have no rest days at all. I think people who do that are insane. I know Ross Cook tried to do that as well, and I think that's mad to think about. But as well, it's very different when you're on your own, because you don't have as much time. You're going to be running for 8 hours a day, and then as well, you've got to manage the content, the editing, the routes, the eating, and you're managing it all by yourself. So sometimes those days off are just necessary to catch up with everything.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I have just done it a lot quicker than I anticipated.
That's sick, man.
Yeah.
All right, tell me about this from the start. So when did you first have the idea? I was like, right, I'm gonna set off and run around the perimeter of the UK. How did that idea come to be?
So originally, what happened was I was just on. I wanted to be more excited in my life. I was at a point where I wasn't really doing much with myself, and I didn't have many big hobbies, and I wasn't too happy with where I was at, and it kind of turned to I just kind of I looked on ChatGPT and I was like, oh, what are some like life threatening challenges I can do? Or originally it was like employment. So originally I was looking like at on-call firework work, or like search and rescue teams, and stuff like that. Stuff where you have that life threatening experience, and not only does it give you experience, but it transforms you, because I mean any sort of life-threatening activity is going to transform you in some way. And what really happened there was I kind of was looking at stuff, and a lot of the stuff there was skill required. So I thought, what can I do within myself that I know I'm capable of right now? And I knew I just recently got into running. A mate of mine had introduced me to it, and that really encouraged me to just think about running because it's so simple, just one foot in front of the other. And I think running's more about the mental challenge rather than the physical ability. So that really made me think like, what can I do on my feet? And originally it was just going to be the perimeter of England. I say just, but and and then someone else pointed out, I was like, that was like, you're just doing England, like you might as well just do the rest. You're just doing half a challenge. And I was like, what, fair point. And then I just whacked the rest on, and that was history from there.
And here we are in Edinburgh. You said, tell me about like the life-threatening. Why does it happen to be
Yeah,
life-threatening?
I I got to a point in my life where I didn't really want to be here. It was kind of I got into a bit of a mental rut, and I tried so much to try and get out of it. It was I tried new hobbies. I had Googled things on like how to feel happier. I didn't really know what I was looking for, but how to feel better in your own life. And I think what really happened there was I tried so much and I couldn't figure out anything, and it kind of got to a point where I was like, well, clearly nothing is working that works for everyone else. And I always knew in my heart that I always felt like I was different than everybody else. I always had this internal feeling, but I there's always also part of me that every other teenager was just like, yeah, I'm different for everyone else. So
Mm.
I didn't know whether to believe that. So I didn't have the proof there. So what I really wanted to do was take it to the extreme, and I wanted to say, hey, like clearly these little things other people have done, meditation, going out for a walk, it never really worked for me, and it worked for them, fair enough, but clearly something extreme needed to happen, and it was either the decision of just going out the easy way, which didn't really appeal to me, and I thought, well, let's do something that challenges you to a point where you're forced to change and you're forced to become someone else. If you look at anyone who's done extreme challenges over months, they look like an entirely different person by the end, and you can tell by their eyes and the way they act, they're very different. So I thought that by taking things to the extreme, it would force me to come out of um, the perspective I was in at the time, and well, I was right in that.
Hmm.
But it's hard to know that that's going to work beforehand because everybody changes by maybe just slightly changing things about themselves. But for me, I felt I had to push to another level because just normal things just didn't work for me. If that makes sense.
Mhm. No, it makes perfect sense. So it sounds as if you were maybe lacking intensity in your life.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, when I grew up, about I think 13, 14, I started getting into mixed martial arts, and that was my thing. I trained a lot every day after school. I'd always hit the gym, and I didn't do it on weekends, but whenever I was finishing school, it was habit, and even when I didn't feel like it, I always headed down there and I hit the bag or I went to classes, and I was always fighting, and that was a passion for me. And I think there was more of a passion in the fact of doing things when you didn't feel like doing them. I think that was more the passion and the ability to push yourself even when you don't feel like it. And I wouldn't say that I've ever been like passionate about sports. I just really like the mindset that you need for it and that mental game. Because if there's one thing that I've noticed on this run, it's you really have to hone in on how you're thinking and how your mind is the most important thing out of anything in your life. And if if you let that go, it doesn't matter what else you do. If your mind isn't there, then you're done. There's nothing that's gonna revitalize you.
Mm. So, what age are you?
19.
19.
Yes.
And if you complete this Am I right in saying you're going to become the youngest person to complete this challenge?
Unofficially, yes. So there's obviously no official documentation. There is the Strava, but there's no one else who's documenting it. And I have also I wasn't able to do the west coast of Scotland above the Loch Ness because that route between service stops and it wasn't like ideal or safe to do on my own. It was pretty unfeasible to do. So I really had to think about whether I could do it, and this because I'm not able to carry all the food I need.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I really had to. I just had to miss that part out. And as much as I would have loved to have done it if I actually had the team, it just wasn't feasible. So whether that comes into play, I wouldn't say I'm officially going for the accolade. I think it was more of a personal journey for me. But yes, unofficially the youngest person, and the youngest person to do this sort of challenge in on Britain, on the UK.
Mm-hmm. And so you set off from Brighton.
Yeah.
And then you've headed up the whole of the west coast of the
Yeah.
UK. So what was the first kind of few weeks like? What were some of the lessons? What were some of the challenges? Was there anything you didn't expect?
Yeah, so the first couple of weeks were hell. Well, the first month even, it was dreadful. And I remember when I was approaching the start line, originally I was gonna walk there. It was like a 30-minute walk, and I walked for 5 minutes, and I thought I was gonna throw up. And yeah, it was horrible. Um, and then I had someone pick me up, and they brought me down. From there, once you're actually in the moment, I was still shitting it a bit. I can't lie. But the second you get your legs moving, it was just like, it's happening now. This is it. So the first month, I would say, was absolutely brutal because I hadn't really done much research into it and I hadn't trained for it. I'll go into that in a minute. But yeah, I didn't train for it at all. So it's very difficult to wrap your head around. This is my life now, and you're running on your own a marathon, and your body is battered, and yet you still have to rely on yourself for everything, food, content. At the time, I was doing a lot of content that I wasn't really used to doing, so it was very difficult to manage it all, and no spare time, and my mind was just like it. It just felt so tight, and it was in a lot of pain, really, as well as my body. It was very difficult, and 2 weeks in, I sprained my ankle as well. So I just got a bit excited on a trail and then landed funny. And when you're on your own and you still got a half marathon to complete with a sprained ankle, it does really play on you. Because then I was doing that, and it got dark, and I was in the middle of a forest, and I had no clue what I was doing, where I was going. And I remember um that was really tough, completing that run. And then, yeah, even reaching Land's End, it's a lot of people think like, oh, this is like a huge achievement. I should feel great, but for me, it's like it's not the end point. You have ran at that point, run 350 miles, but you haven't. I haven't done anything. I haven't accomplished what I set out to do. Even when I got to Johnny Groats, it was still like, I haven't done what I came out to do. So for me, maybe that's an internal problem, but for me, it's still like I haven't done it. And I think after the first month, it started to ease up a bit because I got a bit more used to it, and I was feeling a bit less battered because my body was adapting. But yeah, the first month or so, that was absolutely brutal on my mind, mainly as well, and challenges as well because I didn't do much research into it. As soon as I hit Dorset, just after Bournemouth, that's when the hills started to kick in, and I I I didn't know when to expect it. I just thought it would just be, I was like, they'll come around like Wales or so. And then, yeah, day 4, I was just hit with like, I think 900 meters of elevation throughout a marathon. And I was just like, oh, maybe I'm in over my head here. But it really is just keeping at it, and you just push through it, and you eventually figure it out. And even if it is painful at the time, it passes, and you always get out of the painful situations. If you're here today, you've passed painful situations and you can look back at them and you've always managed to get out to the other side. So reflecting on it, you can, the pain of giving up and going back or quitting and all that's always way worse. You have to live with that for the rest of your life. If you set out to do something and then you see, I didn't do that, it feels like it's an unwritten book or an unfinished book. You wrote 2 lines, but you still got a couple pages to go and you just gave up
Mm.
and it's just left there blank.
Suffer the pain of discipline or suffer the pain of regret.
Exactly. That's exactly it. The pain of regret is always way worse because that lasts forever. But discipline, it only lasts at the time and maybe a bit after if you're a bit achy. But, like you forget it and it adds a lifelong set of being proud of yourself. You've done that thing. You've worked through it.
So you didn't train for it? You didn't. Well, what position were you in to be like, right, I reckon I'm gonna run a marathon every day?
Yeah. So I obviously I had the idea about 5 or 6 months before I set it off. Early 2025, and I made the account, I made the Instagram, and I was like, oh yeah, I'll. Originally, I was like, yeah, I'll train for it, and to be honest, I just didn't. Throughout the 5 or 6 months, I planned what to bring with me in my bag because I was like, well, there's no chance of getting anything else if I need stuff. So I filled up the bag, got the right equipment. That was all good. But yeah, I didn't plan any of the routes. I hadn't trained at all. I think I definitely had probably less than 10 runs under my belt before setting off to run the perimeter of the UK. So
So you weren't like a runner, like you wouldn't run as part of your. You said you did MMA.
yeah, so I did a lot of MMA up until I was about 16, 17. And then I had some personal situations where I felt forced out of my house, and then I was kind of around, hopping around a little bit. And then that's when I stopped training mixed martial arts. And then from there, I was still fairly physically fit because I'd skate to work or cycle to work, and my work as a chef. I was always on my feet, so I was still like physically fit, but not like elite endurance athlete fit. Um, but yeah, I just kind of entered it as as a regular old guy, who had an average probably level of fitness, and as I said, I think it's the mental discipline of just grafting every single day, and that really pushes you to achieve things that you didn't think you could achieve before.
God damn, man. So then so did you just start off running marathons every day? So it was like 42.2 kilometers every.
Yeah, so I think the first day was about 42. I had some issues at the beginning where so I started wearing a watch, but the watch would always die within like 2 days. But the second day it would always die before I finished the run. So because it takes so long.
Yeah.
So after like a few weeks, I switched my phone. But yeah, it was never really like a set marathon because I've always got to organize the runs between grocery stores.
Mm-hmm.
So I've got to finish it at a grocery store and then run to another one. And especially at the beginning when I was in like Devon and Cornwall, there was a lot of stretches where might have been 1 or 2 shops at the end point. Uh, and it brought a lot of pressure because you have to get there before it shuts, or you don't eat. And I had that a couple of times where, yeah, and it's like you run a marathon,
That's
and then there's like a couple of shops, and sometimes where I was lazy in the morning, I left late, and I just didn't.
you were lazy.
Yeah, I was just lazy.
Crazy word to describe that, man. That's
No, because that is it. Like I am doing all of this. I've ran what 3,150 kilometers in 92 days. Fair play, but I am pretty lazy sometimes. Whether I pack up the tent late or I just can't bother to leave or get out of the tent. I'm just like everyone else, to be fair. But the difference is that I think I've got that ability to be confident in myself and push limits that other people don't think they can break.
So what's when you get to this? So you're planning each day kind of between shops, in between eating. So
Yeah.
you'll set off in the morning and then get to the shop before it shuts.
Yeah.
What are you buying? What do you eat?
At the beginning, so at the beginning, this is really hard because I think you're not used to eating a lot. I had a very bad appetite at the time, so the first 2 3 weeks as well were really bad because well, I didn't know what to eat. As I said, there was no research, so I didn't really know what to eat. I was just kind of going in there and winging it, and I didn't have the appetite because I was so stressed. I didn't have the appetite to eat, so I went in there, and at the beginning, I think it was just a lot of like a lot of oats. That was basically I'd have porridge in the morning, and often I finish the day and I would have like I'd heat up some rice, but those microwave rices I just heat it up in like a little saucepan. Um, and I think that was really what I was living off at the time, but I really struggled to eat that. And over the course of time, as I became more relaxed, I was able to eat more. But I found that as well. I don't think it will. I think some things weren't a case of appetite. I think I just struggled to eat certain foods. See, I always looked at other people and they're like, oh, they're having chicken and rice. So that's got to work, right? That's got to be the one to go for. Or they're having oats. But I realized, like, I don't really have an appetite for oats. So, like, I made the switch and having, like, these, you can get granola pots and, instant noodles as well. I never ate instant noodles because working as a chef, I can be quite poncy sometimes. So a lot of instant noodles now, um, tins of mackerel.
Nice.
They're really good, fairly cheap, good protein. Honestly, when I discovered those, I was like, this is insane. Game changer. A lot of Huel as well. Huel's really good because it's got everything you need and it's really easy to get down you. When even if you haven't got appetite because it's just a drink, you can just chow it down and that was really handy. I think that got me through a lot of the first couple months. I think I would have been screwed without that because it's a liquid food. Um, and yeah, I think whilst running as well, I'm a lot of oat bars, and I often during running I wasn't very hungry, but if I ever did, then it would just be like a couple oat bars or whatnot. I never really I tried to steer away from gels, and all sorts because obviously this is my life now, so I've got to try and keep it so I'm eating real food.
Keep it sustainable.
Yeah, exactly. You can't live a life off gels.
No. No. Okay. So a lot of oats, a lot of mackerel, noodles. Do you aim for like a number of calories to consume per day? Do you have
No,
any idea about that? No.
no, I've literally no idea. I've had a lot of time to think, and I think even before this run, I was always like, oh, how much do I eat? I'm eating this much, but Google says to eat this many calories and this much protein, but I didn't really feel like eating that much. I wasn't hungry for it, so I always did rely off the stats off of online and what they said, but nowadays I realize that it's not about that. It's about you've got to go how your body feels, and I mean, I eat a lot. I'll generally finish the day, maybe it could be 2 3 pot noodles, dinner mackerel, a Huel, and then I'll have like a chocolate bar or something as well to get down extra bit of calories. And that does me, and that could be someone else's dinner when they're not even running marathons. But I feel good off eating that, and although the stats say you shouldn't, it doesn't matter. I feel good off eating that, and I found a lot of stuff online was saying you should be eating. If you're running this amount, you should be eating like 60 to 90 grams of carbs per hour, but I don't. I might eat 40 throughout the whole marathon just out of 2 bars, but that works for me. And I don't think it's wise to deter from that because I feel fine off of that. And it's a lot about feeling.
100%, man. Like that, and I suppose you could call it intuitive eating or just like listening to your body.
Hmm.
It's a cool. Have you ever read or heard of the book Born to Run by Chris McDougall?
I haven't, no.
So he's a journalist. He wrote a book about essentially ultra runners
Right.
in Mexico, but they're native people, and so they've just been running for thousands of years.
Brilliant, yeah.
some of them they'll run like 200-300 kilometers at a time. Like their races are just crazy. They're called the Tarahumara.
Really?
It's a fantastic book. But that's the thing that because he goes to some ultra races and stuff in the US and kind of also modern runners but that's one of the points that he has is that ultra running is one of the few kind of disciplines where all the science and all the data and stuff doesn't seem to work that well, and it's just
Yeah.
kind of people that are just out like it's like mums and just like yourself, a chef.
Yeah,
just set
exactly.
off running. It's like one of the like humans have been running for hundreds of thousands of years.
Hundreds,
whereas,
yeah.
one of the running animal.
Yeah.
And that's so cool that you say that you're not obviously you're listening to your body, you're eating decent food by the sound of it, but
Yeah.
you're just kind of figuring it out as you go.
Yeah, that's it, man. It's purely just feeling, because I think for so long, especially before this run, I think that this is one of the things that I think's really helped me, like, and I think will help me continue in the rest of my life is I've always relied. We live in a very information-filled world. You've always got an answer in front of you, whether you got ask ChatGPT or you ask Google. There's always an answer, and it always give you something. But sometimes the answer doesn't suit you, and I think that's a really good thing to hone in on. Is that that they're giving stats, they're giving data from an accumulation of people, but it's not giving you. Only you can understand you. So that's the bit that I think a lot of people forget, is the fact that we're all unique and we all have everything. We have a different threshold of everything. And you really need to focus on what you're capable of and on what suits you, rather than just the stats. Chicken and rice it doesn't feel good for you. If you feel like scrambling a bowl of oats for dinner, you know what? Feel free to go do that. As long as you feel all right, that's what matters.
Why did you choose like 40 kilometers ish? Why was that like the daily thing that you've been hitting?
No real reason. I just thought, 25 miles, 40 kilometers seems about right. And I saw Ross Cook doing it, and I was like, well, if he can do it, then I can probably do it as well. And as well, I took a lot of inspiration when I was younger from David Goggins.
Nice, man.
Yeah,
that's good.
it's the main ones. Like, you've got these two, and you look at them, and although Ross Cook didn't go from like couch to 5,000K, he did a lot of stuff before. But David Goggins, he said that he was like fat and whatever, and then he ran 100 miles. So yeah, it was just a lot of that it just motivated me to think like, "Oh, I can just do that. That'll be fine." And I had a lot of self-trust in myself, so I was just like, yeah, it'll be fine. I'll work it out. And that's how my life has been, really. It's just kind of like, do something, work it out later. That's been most of the run, really, as well.
Trial and error.
Yeah, because you just get into it, and as soon as you get into it, you work it out. I think day one of this run, I set up in Wormswood in Bognor Regis, and it was pitch black. It was about 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, and I didn't even know how to set up the tent. So you would think like you at least before the run might learn how to set up a tent, but I'd only ever done it once, and I didn't even follow a YouTube video. I just thought, there's sticks around, there's prongs there. They look like they go there. I'll work it out. And yeah, the first few nights were dreadful, because I mean I had water coming through the top, and I was sleeping in the middle of nowhere. I was super sketched out. I wasn't used to camping, so I was the first like week or so, especially, I was really struggling with sleep and just being comfortable as well, because you're in a tent in the middle of nowhere. You don't know what's around. You don't know who's going to be around or who's going to ask you to move, even after you've spent an hour setting up your stuff. Yeah, it really is just like turn up and you figure it out as you go. I think now I found a bit more of a schedule or a routine. I'm a lot more comfortable with it now.
How has so you're camping the whole way? You've got your tent in your back.
Yes.
And you're just camping.
Yeah. So, I've had a couple of hotels when the weather's bad. I'm not super strict on it, because the challenge isn't to camp. The challenge is to run, but I just chose to camp as well because it just it saves a lot of money.
Yeah.
Because hotels are expensive. I didn't have a support crew to go around with. So just being able to set up a tent wherever you want, it sounded like a dream. And I'm finding now that it's not a dream. Yeah, 'cause it is quite hard, like, because especially Scotland now, where it's like it's always raining, and I'd never been to Scotland before, so everyone, everybody like coming up, like the first 60 days before I got to Scotland, it was like, oh, he's camping in Scotland during the winter, and like it's gonna be cold, it's gonna be wet. I was like, can it be that much different? It is that much different. I found. So yeah, and it's dreadful because my tent's got 2 layers. So if the inside layer gets wet, especially, the outside layer is fine. But if the inside layer gets wet, it makes it so much colder, and it makes the air so much more humid, and then getting all your stuff wet as well. I mean, I think my tent's actually got mold on it. Yeah, it's just it, it has been rough setting up camp every single night, and then yeah, most nights, and having to blow up your own mattress after you've just run a marathon. And people just like people run a marathon like within every 3 months, even some people, and they're just like, oh, I want to get home and crash out. I've still got to set on my tent, got to inflate my mattress, and I've got to set on my cooking pot, and then yeah, at this point it's like 9, 10 p.m. and you're hungry, but you're still setting up your tent and it's organizing your stuff, and then same way in the morning, like you've then got 42 kilometers, 50 kilometers to run, maybe even ultra marathon, and you've still got to pack down your tent, pack all your stuff right, and then you've got to whack 15 kilos on your back and then go run it before it gets dark as well, and before the shop shuts. So yeah, it has been very a lot of pressure doing that.
That's crazy, man.
Yeah,
That is mad. It's 15 kilo pack as well.
yeah, about that. Yeah, I haven't actually officially weighed it, to be honest, but I think now I think it's about 15 kilos. When I left, it was about 20, because there was a lot of stuff.
Has it become? You said the first month was really tough.
Yes.
Have you been able to kind of streamline it, and has your body adapted as well? I've run 150K,
Mm.
and like the day after, my knees and my shins were really swollen.
Yes.
How has your body adapted to those kind of distances?
So I think with for a long time it hadn't adapted, and obviously I wasn't running at all. So for the first month or two, it was all my joints, especially when I stood up. It was an absolute pain to stand up because my knees were just giving out, and yeah, all my muscles were just clenching up, and they were super tight. My legs felt like noodles. My core was just in so much pain, and then you've also got the strap from the bag and on your shoulders, and you've also got it on your hips as well. So I finished the day, and my hips are almost purple. These are like bright red, and you're finishing each day like that, and uh, it was a real struggle to begin with. That yeah, that really broke me down. But then progressively, my body has begun to adapt to it. Um, but it's just kind of my body's always aching, and my knees are always even if I stand up now, like my knees are probably like that. I've got to warm up for 30 seconds before I start moving. Yeah, so it's just kind of like my body's just 24/7 in I don't know, just like aching, and but I've just gotten used to it now. It's just kind of the new norm. It doesn't really matter to me. Like I know eventually I'll be able to sit down in a nice bed that I don't have to inflate myself, and it'll be a breeze, and it'll be a memory.
Yeah, yeah, true. Yeah, this too shall pass. But I suppose in the meantime, it's
Yeah, whilst you're
going
doing it,
through it.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, you've been camping. Have you had issues with people that move? Because in England, you guys have different rules for camping. As we in
Correct.
Scotland, you've got the right to roam, and we can camp as long as you don't infringe on somebody's right to privacy. So as long as you
Exactly.
can't like see in their house or whatever,
Yeah.
you can camp essentially wherever you want. But that's not the case in England, is it?
No, so England and Wales, it's not the case at all. And I stayed when I was in England with like Devon, Dorset, Cornwall area. There was a lot of campsites that were only open during September. Past September, they were closed
Right.
across the country, most of them anyway. So I stayed in a few campsites as I was getting used to it. But even but some that wasn't every night, and it was really sketchy for me having to set up in like you don't know what's around. You don't know. I because I wasn't setting up in like normal wild camping spot. People say, oh, it's illegal, but no one really minds. But I think that more applies to if you're going to like somewhere like Snowdonia,
Mm.
and it's illegal there, but no one really minds because it's fair enough you want to camp there. But I was just camping in parks or random like community forests where people walk their dogs. So I had a few people curious as to why I was there.
Mhm.
I've been very lucky in the fact that nobody's moved me on and said like, no, you can't be here. You've got to go. Often it's a case of just me opening the door, and as long as you're nice and you say, look, I'm only here for the night. I'll be gone early in the morning. People are quite nice about it usually. Um, I had a couple people being a bit mouthy, but
Get that everywhere.
yeah, exactly. You just kind of you breeze it off and you move on really. As long as I get the sleep in, even if they're mouthy in the morning, like I'm gonna be gone in a couple of hours, so it doesn't really matter too much.
That's good. That's good that you've been mostly been able to just kind of pitch up river.
Yeah, I think it's more like my own head, but it was I was really paranoid because I didn't know, and I didn't I was like, well, how many people are going to be annoyed at me? When am I going to get like an angry Karen just like coming at me and saying, you can't be here, you've got to go? And it was yeah, it was really I was always on edge, and I never really could sleep well for a long time. But when I was able to get into campsites, it was a lot more community based, and
Mm-hmm.
everybody was really nice in campsites. I had a lot of people who offering me like a hot drink, hot water, because I think they all just thought I tried not to brag too much about what I was doing, because I think once you do that, some people can't can't comprehend it, and they almost just like, oh right, nice, and they just don't really know like how big of a thing it is, and some people just get a bit shy as well. So I just kind of said that I was walking the Southwest Coastal Path, and a lot of people were like, oh, solo traveller going around here, and yeah, a lot of kindness. I got offered someone gave me some homemade flapjacks. People offered me hot drinks, hot water. Someone gave me a beer as well, and I was like, oh, 90 days. I think I need it at this point. Yeah, so I've had some good moments. I think that after the campsites passed, where they ended in the beginning of October, that was when they all shut off. And from there, it's just been full on wild camping, and it's been quite stressful, especially wild camping because you don't know what's about.
Yeah. So when did you say you set off?
September 1st.
1st of September.
Yes.
Man, that's another thing. If you're setting off to do a massive run like that, you're setting like if you were going to be strategic about it, you're maybe setting off at one of the worst times of year you could.
Yeah, so it's funny because I do get asked this question a lot: is why are you doing it in autumn? Why are you doing it in winter? And it's a good question.
Valid.
And the answer I've always given is the fact that I've got bad hay fever and I can't do well in heat, which is true. I cannot do well in heat at all. I'm a little white boy. I can't
Milky Runner, man.
that the Milky Runner. That's where it comes from because like my I'm just I've tanned a bit now, but before this I was like a mirror in the sunlight, and I was just called Milky. That was kind of my nickname. So the Milky Runner is where that came from, and yeah, I just can't do well in heat. But the truth is the fact that I didn't really think about the weather. This is how little planning went into it. Is that even when I just made the date, I was just like, September 1st seems like my tenancy ends mid-August, so I don't need to pay for that. And, seems like a good time. Let's just do it then. I didn't even really think about how bad the weather was going to be. Um, I just kind of turned up and did it. And now looking into it, maybe I should have done it like late winter, coming into a bit warmer weather. Um, but I mean, I'm still happy with when I've done it because it's given a bit of an extra challenge. It's really forced me. Like that's been some of the hardest bits of doing this is just the weather because it really just it digs you down and it's dark and you're getting 30-mile-per-hour winds blowing in your face and it's raining and you still got to set up your tent and your tent's just like flying about and everything's getting wet and you're just like, man, why am I here? Why am I in a random park in the middle of Scotland setting up a tent just to run a marathon tomorrow? It's those moments where you're just really like, man, what am I doing? Like this is not the life to be living.
And where does your mind go then? Like, what is the answer to that question? Like, why am I here?
I don't think there really is an answer. There is no reason for. I've realized there's no reason for anything really. Not to get too deep with it, but yeah, like it's just a personal journey, and I know, like you said, this too shall pass. It doesn't really matter what you're going through in the moment. For me, is that I know at some point it will be okay, and it's knowing that I will regret it if I gave up. That's what
Mm.
gets me through because I know the pain of regret and like quitting, and that pain lasts for a long time. I remember that where that feeling mainly stemmed from was I had my first fight. So it was I had a couple fight like interclubs before this in my mixed martial arts training, but my first actual like win or lose fight, because a lot of them have been like, oh, you're both winners, congratulations. This is my first like you win or you lose, and I went in there just like I'll be fine, kind of like how I did with this. I didn't really train much. I just kind of turned up and I was like, I'm pretty good at fighting. I'll be alright. And I got in there and I got my ass kicked. So, and that regret of like, man, I could have done that. I could have been better. I could have really I could have won that if I actually trained because I know my capabilities, and that was a massive that was very painful for me mentally because I was just kind of I really regret how I didn't train for it, and that I think that's kind of where it all stems from. That's the main good. I've got my main anchor point where I think that's how that feels, and it is a very experience orientated thing where you do have to you have to feel that so you know what it feels like to have the pain of regret.
Mm.
But yeah, that's what keeps me going. It's knowing that it will pass, and I'll be proud of this when I'm finished. And I'm not someone who has quit and given up. I wouldn't class myself as that. I don't like the idea of saying that I gave up, and I'm too stubborn to say that I have given up.
Yeah, you do not strike me as a quitter.
No, I never have been really. I don't think even like even small things. Someone could say like, oh, like yeah, it's hard to think of an example, but just something small, and it could be like going to the shop at 7, and it's currently 2, and I'm like, and I say, yeah, yeah, yeah. And like, it's something so small, but even if I don't feel like it, it feels like I can't say, oh, no, I'll go tomorrow. I still have to say, man, I've said I'll go. I said I'll go at 7. I've got to do that, otherwise I've quit. I've quit on going to a walk to the shop. How how m- how much does that make me? How much of a pussy does that make me? To quit on going for a little 5-minute walk to the shop, you know? Yeah, I take it to the extreme sometimes, and I think that does play on you mentally. But I think now after this, because I've proven to myself that I am someone who can do these things, I think once you have the proof there that that you can push yourself to these extremes, that's it. Really encourages you that you can relax a bit more because you've clearly done something and you are someone. I think everyone has different thresholds. So, like, I could run a marathon and not do this, and I would still feel a bit incomplete.
Mm.
But for me, I guess I really need to do something extreme. I've always liked to go all in or not at all. And this was proof for me that I am someone who has an extreme amount of mental resilience. And even if I am lazy in my day to day life, I clearly am not lazy as a whole because I can do this thing.
Mm.
That makes sense.
Yeah, well, yeah, absolutely, yeah. There's a good piece of wisdom. I think it was maybe Alex Hormozy that said it, and he says essentially kind of self-esteem, or like, you do not build self-esteem by looking in the mirror and repeating affirmations. You build self-esteem by having a massive growing mountain of evidence of you doing things that are difficult and challenging.
Exactly that, man. I feel I might have heard that before, but I love that. That is exactly it. Because for so long I was like, because in my heart, as I said before, I felt like I was someone who had a lot of mental resilience, and I could do these things, and I could do so much, but I didn't have the proof there. And I even from a young age, you guess I could say I had the proof because I was 19. I was a pretty good chef. Well, I am a pretty good chef. I had a lot of skills. I could skate to a degree. I was really good at fighting. So there was some bit of proof there, but it wasn't enough for me, and it wasn't a mountain, it was more of just like a little hill. And this is the mountain I'm creating now. And I've tried that before, look in the mirror and you're saying like, "Oh, you are worthy, you are that guy, you can do this, you can do that." But for me, it never stuck. You could never, you could never, I could never convince myself to do that. It just felt a bit cringy and a bit forced. But just actually doing the thing and being there, that's where you learn that. That's where you have the fact there. It's true. And I think facts are very. I think we're very fact orientated. Um, especially these days, like I said before, like facts are very important. So even just having the fact there that you've done this massive thing, that's a key part of having a strong mindset.
Facts are sacred, bro.
Yeah.
Everyone has an opinion, but facts are sacred.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
Because they've actually happened. They're true. They're 100% true.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, you made your way all the way kind of around the west coast. You get up to the north of Scotland. What was that like? Because the north of Scotland is wild. I think if you've not been there, you don't realize how, especially up past. I mean, even once you get to Glencoe and stuff.
Yeah.
As you're saying, like the number of shops and stuff are minimal. It can be hard. You need to plan even where you're going to fill up your car. It can be, you can be at risk of running out of fuel between petrol stations. It's pretty remote. There's not a lot of people up there.
No.
And this time of year as well, maybe October kind of time you were there. Was it November you were up there?
It'd have been November, yeah. By
November, man.
Yeah.
It's getting brutal. Like you're getting short days.
Yeah.
It's cold. It's wet. It's so wet up in the Highlands as well.
Yeah, I know.
There's so much rain up there.
Yeah, that was brutal. It really was. So the second I left Glasgow and I went up to Alexandria, and from there, that's where it all started. So from there, it was almost, so John O'Groats, it was almost 50, 60 Ks every single day just to get to the next shop.
Seriously,
just
so you're
so you
doing
could eat.
50 or 60 Ks a day to get to shops up there?
Yeah, because there was,
That's mental.
yeah, so
Holy shit.
the first one, there's literally one Londis, like just, I didn't know about like the Green Weddy stop. A lot of those didn't show up on the map, so I didn't know. So right below Tyndrum, where that is, there's just one Londis, and that was the next stop from Alexandria, and that was about 50, 60 kilometers. I don't exactly remember, but in the same way, you go there, and then the next stop is another 50, 60 kilometers, which was just after Glencoe. I don't remember the town it's called, Balasukik or something. I don't remember.
Ballyhoolish.
That's the one.
Yeah.
That's the one. I struggled with the next round here.
Pretty reasonable, yeah.
Yeah, and there was one car up there, and then from there I could have ran to Fort William. In fact, I actually did end up running Fort William because I wanted to add. It's funny. I actually wanted to add some extra miles to the next.
Yeah, why wouldn't you?
Yeah, exactly. So I stopped off in Fort William, and then the next one I was meant to go to Speembridge, but I didn't. There's like one spa there, but then after that, it was to Fort Augustus. And yeah, basically that was just continuing throughout the whole way up to Donny Groats and back down, where it's just you're going 50, 60 kilometers, and you don't have the option to do less. It's not like you can call up a taxi, say, "Hey, can you take me over there?" There isn't even taxis, there isn't even buses. If you want to go over there and then come back in the morning, you have to do that distance. Otherwise, you don't eat. So that's been really hard. That's been a really hard bit to do solo. And especially, I was really stressed coming into Scotland because I was like, man, can I do it every single day? Because I mean, I had some proof behind me that I've ran this far, but I'd never ran that many continuous ultra marathons. Yeah, so coming up, it was very, very difficult on the way up, and then on the way back down, the worst stretch was Inverness to Groats, because that was solid about 60 Ks every single day, and then it was literally a week of about 60 kilometers every day. And I've ran into throughout this whole run, I've ran into a lot of battery issues where your phone dies and you struggle with directions, and whether it be your phone getting wet and it won't charge, or my battery pack's dying, or like actually breaking because it gets wet. So I've ran into a lot of issues, but on the way up and the way back down, that was hell. I hated that. And from there, it wasn't too bad afterwards, because There wasn't as many. There was a bit more shops coming into the national park just after to the east of Inverness. As you go up to Elgin and like Fraserburgh or something, there was still some big runs there, but as a whole, from there it started to die down a bit, and there's more shops, and especially as I go down the east coast of Scotland and England, there'll be a lot more opportunities to stop at. So, and it's all planned out, so I know exactly what to expect each time. I couldn't plan out the beginning because I didn't know what I was capable of, and I didn't know how far I could run. So it was just kind of wake up and say, I'm gonna go there. And yeah, now it's a little bit more structured. But yeah, it's been very, very difficult to run those distances every single day, and it definitely plays a big toll on your mind.
Yeah, man. So how far have you got planned for each day or each week kind of thing for the rest of the run?
So it's a bit all over the place. It's not any set distances. So I had the thing, and I was like, well, I want people to be there at the end point. I want people to join me for the last stretch, and it was either I didn't really want to get back before Christmas because I felt everyone would be busy. And then I felt if I wanted to come after New Year's, it would need to be later in the New Year's. So I felt in between Christmas and New Year's would be a sweet spot. So 29th of December is when I'm getting back. So I could do it. I actually could do it quicker. And I could, like, there's been a few like half marathons. And for me, that's basically a rest day. So I could definitely do it quicker. But I wanted to make sure I also get back so people can join me and also be a part of this journey. Um, and accompany me on this run. So yeah, I've got it. I think it's about from here and out from Edinburgh down. It is about like 30 to 40 kilometers, and then at the second I get about 2 weeks out, I've just decided to smash myself out where it's all 50Ks, and then the last 4 days I think like 65, 70Ks as well.
Damn.
Yeah, but yeah, it's just been a lot of also just trying to postpone it a little bit, just so I can get after Christmas and everyone's free, because I would like people to be there.
Mm. Yeah, man. I hope there's so you'll finish in Brighton.
Finish Brighton Pier, December 29th, yeah.
I hope you've got like a Forrest Gump kind of thing going. You've got like an army. You deserve it, man.
I mean, I get described that Forrest Gump a lot because, well, he just started running without any training. He's like, I'm gonna start running now. And that's basically what I've done. I've just been like, I'm not really training. Let's just go for a run, man. And then 4 months later, I'll return back here.
That is so inspiring, man. Because I think we can get so wrapped up in like optimizing things. And as you say, like when you can look things up and everything has an answer, especially with ChatGPT and stuff now, you can get a response to absolutely everything. And then GPT could make you a 3-month program that would be, would optimize for like, there'd be 100 meter sprints, and then there'd be a 10K, and then there'd be blah, blah, blah. And I think we're all guilty. I definitely am, of just like over planning and just trying to just optimize absolutely every little thing we can.
Yeah.
To hear you say that you've just, without any real training, you've just set off on a run. You're like 3,000 kilometers in now, and you're doing it.
Yes.
Sick. That's sick as fuck.
Yeah.
That's awesome, man.
Exactly. I 100% agree with your point. I think it's very easy because you've got all the information you think you do at your fingertips. Because you've got other people who've done similar things, or you've got ChatGPT especially will always give you answers to whatever you need. So it will always tell you
what you want to hear.
Exactly, yeah. So, and you get given all that information, and what happens with that is you're like, okay, well, I can figure everything out. So you try to almost make it perfect beforehand, and you try to think, well, let's make every single little detail, planned out and as perfect as it can be. And I think oftentimes, part of the thing as well, I worried about planning was that I know there's going to be lots of things that I didn't expect to happen. I didn't expect to run onto 900 meters of elevation on day 4. So there's lots of things that will throw you off course. And when you do try to play it out and perfect everything beforehand, it plays up on you because it's not what you expected. You think you've got it all planned out and you've got every little detail there, and something happens, you're like, man, okay, this plan's out the window. But if you go through life just basically raw dogging it, you just every single day, just don't plan for it. Don't wait till it's perfect. Just keep at it. You also develop a skill to keep at it, to keep going every single day, and to think on your feet. That's been a lot of I learned a lot from working as a chef, because that's a job where you do have to think on your feet, and you have to come up with solutions within 30 seconds to whatever's happening. That's never perfect. It's never a smooth run. So that's a job where you are constantly having to come up with solutions on the go. And I think that mindset's really been powerful for me, because it shows it's not waiting for it to be perfect. It's not waiting for the oven to come to the right temperature. Otherwise, it's going to go out late. Something like that. It's so simple as that. It's just saying it's not perfect. It's not the right conditions, but we're going to make it work anyway. And as long as you turn up every single day, I think you figure it out. And there's lots of, as I've realized, like, I knew nothing about running coming into this. It took me, I didn't even know what sub 2 hour marathon meant. I was like, what does sub mean? And as long as you just surround yourself with the environment, and you do the thing, eventually the lingo comes, the tips come, and you can't research everything. It's just like, if you surround yourself with the right people, and you just engulf yourself within the with what you're doing, you eventually figure it out. There's no way you spend if you spent like a month doing archery, you'll eventually pick up some bits. Even if you're just like there picking up the bow and no trainer, if you're doing it with other people, you eventually pick up some bits and some little tips that you keep doing that, and eventually you know everything, but you know way more than other people, just because you've been there, you've done it.
And then compare that with like doing archery for a month, or reading books and watching like YouTube videos about archery for a month.
Yeah,
And I know where my money's on it. Who's going to get better at archery over a month?
yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think that there's a really good book. It's called "Chop Wood, Carry Water." I don't know if you've heard of that.
No, never.
That's a book that I reference a lot, and something they talk about it is funny. I talk about archery because that's about becoming a samurai archer,
Hmm.
and part of the thing is saying that the student says, "Oh, I know how to change a bowstring. I've I've watched it on YouTube," and then he tries to change it, and and he struggles, and he doesn't know how, because he's only got I think it's called Gnosko of it. Basically, you've only got the outside knowledge, and then there's another word, I can't remember the name for it, but there's another word where you've actually got the experience of doing it. And they're very different things. Having the actual physical experience of doing something compared to the research of it. Would you rather navigate a jungle with someone who's studied it for 10 years but never stepped foot inside of it? Or would you rather go with someone who's navigated it for 1 year? I know who I'd pick. It's the guy who's been there for a year, and he knows he's been there, he's seen it. So that's it's just getting yourself in, and it shows that if you put that in a statistical sentence, that spending a year doing the thing 10x's your skill of doing it for 10 years, because you've got more knowledge than you can probably believe doing it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's. Couldn't agree more, man.
Yeah.
What have been some of the bigger challenges that you've come up against and have had to overcome? Like, has there been any surprising things that you didn't expect to be really difficult, but that have kind of tripped you up? Or
So yeah, I like I've been saying, like it is just kind of like going through and then figuring it out as you go. So I didn't really think about any challenges I would come. I'll just say I'll deal with it when it comes about. And a problem that I did have was the equipment side of it, because there was lots of things um that were going wrong. I think pretty early on, my battery pack broke, and without that, because I'm camping and I'm using my phone a lot, because for content or for Strava, it dies super quickly.
mm.
So without the battery pack, and you're in the middle of like a national park, it's not that you can just like stock up in a hotel and just whack it in. And even if I did want to, though, it's like 60 quid. I don't have. So equipment has been a big issue. You know, going through, I think I'm on like my sixth pair of shoes. Um, I've gone through probably about 4 battery packs just because they get wet or they just stop working from using the ports or bending them. I think equipment's been a massive one where it's just I have to keep replacing it, and then I don't have the facilities around me to buy the equipment. If I need new running shoes and these ones are ruined, I might be in the middle of nowhere. I could just be in
John O'Groats.
yeah, I could be in John O'Groats, and then suddenly like my shoes are falling apart, and like what do I do then? I can't Amazon it. I'm in the middle of nowhere, so eh, that's been a really big issue. Um, yeah, I would say that's probably especially doing it solo. Like,
Yeah.
uh, I would actually say that doing it solo has forced it to be the running actually not to be as hard because you're having to manage like all your gear in the tent and then packing up tent, and you're also doing all the social media yourself, uploading, editing, replying to people, replying to comments, and it's all. I would say that's probably been the hardest part is finding the time for it. That the running isn't even that difficult anymore because all you've got to do is just put one foot in front of the other. But everything else, because people who do big challenges like these sometimes have a support crew, and they'll. If I did have one, I'd be able to do like that the west coast of Scotland. But that's what I mean. So they'll be doing the content, they'll be doing editing, the recording, but all of it's just in my brain. So I've got to have like 4 different jobs of running, of navigating the routes and making sure I'm going the right way, and then planning out the content and then trying to promote it as well. So I'm a marketer, I'm a videographer, I'm a runner, I'm a route navigator. So there's just so many different aspects of where it just piles on and it piles on, and that adds a lot of mental load. It does help. I think that when I finish the run, it will make me feel like I'm very competent and I can do a lot. But the same way, it does add up in your toll, and there's been a lot of times where you just get in a mental rut, especially when you're not talking to anyone or you don't see anyone for like a week. Um, and you just get stuck in your own head, and I just slogging it every single day, feeling like crap.
So it gets lonely.
Yeah, yeah, it's been very lonely. I spend every day. It's not. I get a lot of people asking like, oh, like, what's been a really big, what's been like an interesting encounter, or how many people have you met? And I don't really have the time to go out and see cool sights or talk to people and have long conversations because it's just waking up every day, getting the food in, and then running, and then doing the same thing. So I don't really see anyone. I don't really talk to many people, and I think where that's played in a lot of it's affected me a lot mentally because you get stuck in your own head. And what I call it is, I think before this run, I was really like, hey, like, uh, I'm alright with being alone. I quite like being alone. And I thought I'd actually thrive in it, which I do like being alone. I do perform better. But at the same time, when you're actually alone, but you don't even have the option to see anyone it's very different. Often, if you're living at like your hometown and you live on your own, it's like, okay, I like being alone, but I've got the option to see people I know. Now I don't, and I like to call it brain shakers. So what I mean by that is when you talk to someone, it forces you to connect with them and talk to them and think about what they're saying and reply to what they're saying. And something as simple as that, it takes you out of what you're thinking. It takes you out of your own brain. And when I get in those mental ruts, I think I was in one on all the way to John O'Groats and on the way back down. And I think I stayed with someone in Hemsdale, and literally it was the first time I'd had a proper conversation with someone in about a week. And I just spoke to her for like 30 minutes, and I just realized, like, I finished the conversation, and I was like, I actually feel alright now. I actually don't feel as tense in my mind because when you're on your own, you're thinking about something. You're thinking about, oh, I've got to do an ultra marathon. I've got to do another one tomorrow, and you're cursing yourself out whilst running, and it gets dark, and you're like, why is it so dark? And you got cars coming in your face, and you're like, oh, why are you? I, just, it really digs into your brain, and I think those really force you to stay in your own head, and it's very hard to escape that. But the second you talk to someone else, you're forced out of it almost, and that's why I think people are really important, because it almost takes you out of your own head and almost into theirs, and you kind of share this wavelength, and then that's where it becomes almost a bit relaxing. But then at the same time, where a lot of people surround themselves with people 24/7, so then you don't ever have that time where you're in your own head, and in the same way that can be detrimental, because when you spend so much time outside of your own head and you're always talking to others, that really it digs yourself a hole, and you don't know what you want to think, because you're so used to sharing thoughts with everyone else. You don't know what's in your own head.
That is a very interesting point, man. Because I completely agree that, like, I've actually talked about it in a podcast before this, but that
Yeah,
book there, Unbecoming a Person by Carl Rogers, like, he's one of the kind of, he's a founding father of modern psychotherapy, and that is, like, through talk therapy, is that people, what did you say, mental shakers, he called it?
brain shaker.
Brain shaker,
Yeah,
yeah.
I originally called it a state change, but that a bit boring. So a brain shaker. Yeah,
Brain shaker, yeah. So, like, yeah, as you were saying, it's like you talk through these problems and issues, and, like, the way you share, and it's, as you say, it's almost like sharing a mind, right? Like, what we're doing just now is, like, we're properly locked in a conversation, and it's
yeah,
like we're sharing information and knowledge and experience and stuff. More so as more one way, um, and that is so valuable and so important, and, like, to have those relationships and speak to people. Yeah, at the same time, it can go the other way as well, can't it? Because you can, I love being on my own. I love solitude. Like,
yeah,
yesterday, like, I love spending my Sundays alone.
yeah,
I like running alone. I like just, I really try and wall off a lot of alone time for
yeah, for
myself.
sure.
Because there's a balance there, isn't there? There's a dichotomy. There's two things that you need to balance between one another.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's very important to spend time by yourself, because then you learn about yourself. You learn about what you like to think. And I think I spent a lot of time, part of this, like, this run, as I said, was because it's a personal journey. I spent so much time. I wasn't really one to hang out with a load of people, but I never really gave myself the ability to think about what I wanted. I felt like before this run, I was like an accumulation of other people's traits.
Mm.
And I would look at what other people would do and things they say and the way they act, and I'll be like, I like that trait, I'll take that one. I like that trait, I'll take that one. And I was just, as I said, an accumulation of other people, and I didn't know what I wanted. I kind of was just like, well, do I want to be talking like that? Do I want to say that? Do I want to be doing these things? Because these weren't things that I had an original thought about. These were other things other people were doing, and I just copied it. So this being on your own 24/7 has forced me to say, well, okay, I'm not around these people anymore. I only act the way I want to act, and have your own thoughts. And I would really encourage it for anyone just to be by yourself and actually ask yourself, how do I want to be right now? How do I want to act? What do I want to do? And I think I've spent so much time outside, and then only encountering people for like 30 minutes at a time, and they'll share their story, and then someone else will share their story, and you think, man, there really is no script to life. There's so many people living things differently and doing different things, and
You can just do shit.
you can do anything you want, man. And that's the thing. Is like, if I wanted to be a podcast host, it's just start doing it and you figure it out as you go.
Yeah.
If you want to be a tennis player, you just turn up at the court and then talk to other people, and you just figure it out as you go. Like, there's no script, man. And I think that's something that a lot of people forget, is that there's no way to live life. You can do anything you want. You can have kids. You can not have kids. You can go play bingo every single day for the rest of your life. There's no script, man. Just do whatever you want. And sometimes it almost feels wrong to do that, but there's no way to live. It's just however feels right to you.
Hell yeah, bro. I found that I did some solo traveling when I was actually about your age.
Yeah.
So from, like, I started a degree, I dropped out, and then I did some backpacking. I was just backpacking around
Yeah.
the place. And I found, again, just what you were touching on there, was I found the consistent parts of myself. It's like, it is an unbelievable cliche. People say, like, oh yeah, I found myself in my gap year kind of thing.
Yeah.
I think what they're talking about though is you because when you're traveling, you're constantly meeting new people. Nobody has any expectations of you, so you don't have any like social grooves that you go into. There's
Exactly,
none
yeah.
of this like Kyle is this or Kyle is a chef, Kyle is XYZ. When you go into a room when you're traveling where nobody knows you, you're a completely blank slate. And so then you start to realize, oh, right, so I am consistently this thing and this thing and this thing. And so maybe these are the parts of myself that are really at the core of who I am. They're some of the things that make me unique. And these are not things necessarily that I imitate in others. And I found that really, really valuable to kind of figure out. You kind of figure out who you are and who Ross is and what makes him up and what are some of the good bits, what are some of the bad bits as well. Like, I can be unbelievably lazy and stuff, and um, yeah, you figure out, you get a real sense of who you are and where the consistencies are. It's just what you made me think of there as you're
For
saying.
sure, yeah.
I suppose when you spend so much time alone as well, it's like you're in your own head so much.
Yeah. But you spend that time alone and you realize the thoughts that you're having are your original thoughts,
Mm.
for so long. Like, the people I used to spend the most time with were people in kitchens. And I think doing that, that I realize now a lot of people who I did hang out with are nothing like how I want to be.
Mm.
They have for a long time, I would categorize people by like, oh, this person's like energetic and outgoing, and then I would almost like, and I'd be very like judge them by the surface and say like, oh, like categorize people, say, you're that person, you're like that kind of group. But everybody's their own thing, and if you can figure out what you like, and you don't always have to be that energetic, outgoing, charismatic person. Sometimes you can just be chill. Sometimes you can be super high energy. For so long I always like would encapsulate myself in saying that you have to be one of these groups. You have to be the chill, you have to be energetic, you
Mm.
have to be fun. You can be all of them, man. You just got to be yourself. And that was something that I really struggled to find.
There's those labels as well and those boxes that,
Yeah.
man, often it is other people that want to put you in. And it's like,
Yeah.
you are a chill guy, you are an energetic person.
Yes.
That can be so restrictive.
Yeah, exactly.
We're so complex, and as you say, it depends on the time of day whether I feel introverted or extroverted or.
Yeah, 100%. Like, you can wake up in the morning and you don't want to listen to rave music, but maybe you do, and then maybe at night you want to listen to classical jazz, but you think you can do both. You can think. People say, "Oh, what music you into?" And if you say, I think even that is such like is a good icebreaker, but it also categorizes you because people will judge you based on what music you listen to.
Mm,
If you say grime, they'll think, "Man, this guy's like maybe that's hard."
he's way too white
Yes.
to grow.
Well, yeah, and you're put into a category, and then the same way, if you say you're into like drum and bass or something like that, I think, oh, he's like a party goer, but you might just be, and you might say you like classical jazz, but you might also like going to raves. It people like you said, they put people in categories, and it's very easy to say like you're that, you're that, you're that, but nobody's anything really. Like you said, it's very complex, and it's hard to know exactly who you are. And I think it's very difficult to put a title on yourself. Like, I think there was a good quote that I heard that was someone said, I can't remember exactly, but basically the question was like, who are you? And it was more of, I don't classify myself as anything because that excludes the possibility for change.
Mm,
And I've really resonated with that, and I was like, well, yeah, that's actually a really good point. Like, if you say you are something or say you are this person, you're not giving yourself room to change about and flow. Like,
the grow.
yeah, exactly. And like there was something like what was it, Jackie Chan? He said like, be like water. Is that
That was Bruce Lee, mate.
Bruce Lee? That's the one. And you get good at that. Yeah, Bruce
Be
Lee said like,
water.
be like water, and I think that's really good because you're no solid shape. You are whatever you put yourself in.
Yeah.
And yeah, just do what you want and flow into whatever phase you put yourself in. That's adapt to the situation. Let's say also goes to Darwin's point of the people who survive the longest and do the best are the people who can adapt the quickest. And it's be like water and adapt to whatever. If you put into a mug, if you put into a vase, if you put into a lampshade, it doesn't really matter. Like, just adapt. That's the you're not any sort of anything. You're just able to adapt and who you want to be and form into whatever situation you're put in.
So do you feel like you've gained a better grasp of yourself, of who you are on this journey?
For sure. Yes, definitely. I think for a long time before this, I was always trying to like see what other people were doing, and I was trying to. I always just tried to copy other people. That was my life because I was like, well, if I want to be like that guy, I've got to take those traits. If I want to be like that guy, to take those traits. And I thought that would make me a unique person. I thought if I take everybody else's traits and put them into one, that would make me someone else. But it's not me. You know, if you really take the time and think about who you are, then you become a lot more comfortable with saying saying who you are and who you want to be because you're not forcing yourself into any constraints. You're just saying like, hey, like I mean, I have these thoughts. These are my original thoughts. Whether society agrees with them or not is a different means. But I'm going to continue to be who I feel is right to me, and it's a lot about feeling. Because a lot of I think now these days where we're in a very emotionally overloaded society where we're bombarded with different emotions, and especially through like Instagram reels and whatnot. I think feeling has become very difficult to feel how you want to feel and to feel like emotions. I struggled a lot with feeling a variety of emotions before this run. I was just kind of like this people say nonchalant, but I was just kind of this like just like flat emotion because I was just like overloaded with all different sorts because I was doing a lot of scrolling, and then you'd go into kitchens and that's very intense, and then you come out and it's chill, and it's like there's so many different like emotions you get yourself into, and I think feeling has really gone out the window these days, and it's really important to connect with your body and be able to know what you want and feel how you want to act.
Trust yourself.
Yeah.
How much of the run have you got left? How many kilometers left and how many weeks?
So today it is, what is it? So it's day 92 today. So I've got 28 days left. And from there, I've got to go, I think it's about 1,300 kilometers, I think. I'm not actually too sure, but I think it's about 1,300 over the course of 28 days, which I mean, I've been thinking it's going to be a breeze. I think from what I've already been through the lack of shops. I think now it's everything's a lot more tightly knit together. There's a lot more places if you need new shoes, you need new battery pack, or you need whatever. It's all around, and I think the last bit's going to be alright. I do worry about wild camping back in England, um, but like, I mean, I think if you're able to set up late and gone fairly early, then it should be alright. I'm hoping, but there is always the paranoia there of who's outside, and my nervous system is always a bit on edge of kind of like, who's outside, what's going to happen next. I pitched up a few times and heard noises outside and thought like there shouldn't be anyone around here. And sometimes it's just noises playing in my own head, but a lot of time, there was one time where I woke up at like 2 a.m. Um, I think it's somewhere in North Wales, and I pitched up and I heard some noises at a tent, and I was actually quite scared. Because I really did think there was someone outside, and I thought I could hear footsteps, and it took me a while to see if there's anyone there because I was just kept awake. I probably took like it was just 30 minutes of just sitting there like stiff, and then at one point I just kind of I built the courage, and I quickly whipped open the front door, and then quickly whipped open the second one, and I had a quick look, and no one was there. But it's those because you're like, who am I about to face when I open this door? And I had a few things like that where I think I've heard people outside and like sketchily walking around, and especially when you're in areas where there actually would be people, sometimes it'd be weird. But that's been a really big part of just like not knowing who you're gonna. If there is someone outside, who are you about to come into? Is it a farmer? Is it someone who wants to rob you? Is it just some like teens? Is it anyone? Is it just like
Yeah, is there anyone actually there?
is anyone actually there? Is it just your own brain playing tricks on you? So that's been very difficult because that affects my sleep as well. You know, because you're kept constantly on edge throughout the night.
Yeah, man, that is. How much do you sleep per night, do you reckon? What time do you get up at?
I generally get up like about 8 or 9,
Right.
which I'm not an early riser at all.
Yeah, neither.
I wish I was, but yeah, I can't. I try to get up basically about sunrise. Because I can't get up when it's dark outside. I just feel like I haven't slept properly.
Yeah.
But yeah, that doesn't help as well because often people are up before 8 or 9 and then they're already roaming about. Sometimes I do wake up and I do hear people. I've been woken up a few times by like a dog weeing on my tent or something. Yeah. But as a whole, I'll try to get. Generally, I'll get to sleep at about maybe 12 or 1. Where I'm trying to pitch up late, and as well the run takes a while. And then yeah, I'll wake up about 8 or 9. I'll leave by about 12, half 12, and then I'll be running. Any shopping you need to do, any bits online. I tried to get some bits done whilst running, and then yeah, by the time I finished, it's usually about 8 hours or so. Then it's 8 p.m. and then set up a tent after you've eaten, relaxed, and done all the bits you need to do on social media. It gets quite late, so every day is very monotonous in that way, where it's the exact same thing every single day, and you're doing the same thing. And it's almost like a routine now, but you know, it does play up on you. I've tried a couple of times to try and like switch things up and do something interesting, even just like sitting in a coffee shop. But even that, it's still it doesn't fully relax you. I find relaxing is very hard now. I don't really relax. I think I've just gotten so used to just being on the go 24/7 that relaxing almost feels alien.
So you're always in like a forward center mass.
Yeah.
in
Just like
motion.
always like constantly rolling, and it feels like I've always got to be doing something. If I'm sitting in a cafe, let's edit some videos, or whilst I'm running, obviously I'm running, but then as well, like if there's any like comments I can reply to, set up 10, it's like there's never really a time to just sit still and just calm and relax. Like I've been wanting to do stuff like just like a sauna. But then even something like that, you've got to think like, okay, so I finish the sauna, I'm gonna be like sweaty and wet, and then I've also got to dry off. So that means I'm gonna be carrying a wet towel, and then that wet towel has to go in my bag, and it makes other things wet. And as well, what clothes am I gonna wear? Because then I'm gonna be carrying around sweaty pants all day, and it's like, and you've also got to plan for like laundry as well, because there isn't always like a lot like I use the Revolution laundry; they're really good, and I'll go around them, and you've got a plan for how quickly you cycle through your clothes, and you know what you wear, and that's quite difficult because I mean I don't really like being in dirty clothes, and if I am in dirty clothes, I don't really want to. I worry about like getting ill, or potentially if because my feet are a bit battered, and as well if I'm putting on like wet, cold, dirty socks in the morning, and then I've got to wear them for another like 12 hours. I worry about like, am I going to get like a foot infection, or is something going to happen? So yeah, there's a lot of like little bits that I worry about. Um, oh
See, when you're running as well, like, you said maybe you set off around 12, did you say?
yeah, 12 half 12 1. It's not really consistent. It's just kind
Yeah,
of
sure, whenever you're ready.
yeah.
Do you run? So then, is it just like constant running for a few hours, or would you do like 10k, 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 or what would be the?
No, so the original what I wanted to do to begin with was kind of split it up. So I'll do like 20k, 15k, however much I felt, and then stop for a bit and then continue. But I found that really difficult of stopping, because I would stop and then I'd feel how it feels to not run. Then I know I've got to get back into that.
Yeah.
It's much easier to just stay in the, because like I said before, it's very you just got to stay in the right mindset. And if you're just running on the road non-stop, one foot in front of the other for 8 hours, you keep your mind inside of the running. You keep it inside of there, and you're not thinking about relaxing. I can't relax if I run 20 kilometers. I've still got 20 to go. I can't relax. I can't rest properly if I do that. it doesn't work for me, and I've just got to bosh it out all at once. And as well, I don't really have the time, to be honest, to even rest in between, just because I can get so busy with doing other bits. And I thought I'd have so much free time, but it's quite the opposite. I'm actually quite busy all the time. So just being able to get it all out at once, that's been powerful for me. Just and allow knowing I've done what I need to do, and then you can like chill out a bit more at the end of the day, even if you have got stuff to do online or eat food or whatever.
Right. So once you get going, you're just like you're going until
Yeah,
you've done.
yeah. Often, I mean, like it isn't usually 24/7 running. It's very hard to just keep up, like to run non-stop. So it is just like running and then sometimes walking, and then maybe I'll stop for like 2 minutes just to go on my phone. But that's not because I need the break, or with the walking or the stopping. It's not because I need a break. It's just because I'm doing the exact same thing every single day, and I think I get distracted, and I just don't want to be on the road 24/7. So I try to take my mind out of it and then just like get distracted by my phone. And I don't think that's healthy. Even though I am running these distances, but it's almost me trying to escape the reality I'm in, which I don't think is healthy at all. I think that's where social media and like Instagram Reels or some or TikTok has become very easy, because you can just open your phone, you can escape the moment you're in.
Hmm.
But yeah, that's something I'm trying to work on. But yeah, once I'm on the road, it's just continue to the end, just try and get to the end.
Awesome, man. All right, Cal, I've taken up a lot of your time today. I appreciate you
Okay.
talking through all this stuff. It's so interesting. It's inspiring as fuck, man. Like, it's a badass thing to do.
Man, I appreciate you having me. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, man. This is great, man. And yeah. So you're gonna be running for the next few weeks.
Yep.
How do people find you?
Yeah, so I'm on Instagram and TikTok. All of it is as the Milky Runner. You can find me on there, and then there's also a link in both of those bios where you can donate to Family Action, the charity I'm doing this for. And there is also a one underneath for when I'm back home, because I don't actually have a place to go when I'm home. I'm going to be sofa surfing when I'm back in Brighton. So there is a little one, just a little boost if I can get like a deposit on a place. But I would much more appreciate if people were to focus on the Family Action one, because that's what this is for. That's where this goes to.
And what is the charity? What's the
So Family Action is a charity that supports families as a whole, parents, kids, through all sorts of challenges. And I think a lot of people don't really know about it, and part of this is just bringing awareness to it. But it's a charity that resonates with me. I think especially nowadays, families could get a lot more support, and it's uh, your family should be the one place where it's safe to go to, and you you feel comfortable. I think people need. It's very difficult being parents. One of the hardest jobs I think out there. It's not something you get training for, and to be able to have a place where you can go and ask for advice, or you can get support, or whether it be financially or just general like knowledge. I think it's really important, and I think could be very beneficial in today's world. So Family Action is a charity that supports that. So if you're a parent or a kid, then you can go there, and then any sort of challenges, whether it be financial or whatever, that you can go there and they'll help you out.
great stuff, man? Well, that's a great cause, and yeah, that's awesome, man. It was great to speak to you, Cal.
Mate, yeah, I really appreciate it, and thank you for having me.
Godspeed, man. Godspeed. Unreal, bro.